Hello learners, welcome to presentation on module number 12 whose focus is models in conversation. But before we go into this module, let us kind of try and connect with the earlier one, that's module number 11, which is grammar in context. So in module number 11 we learned that grammatical correctness and appropriateness of language is very important for making our communication effective. Okay? We also learned from the earlier module that in English questions they have different sort of patterns, and those different sort of patterns or structure of question is very important. Why? It's important basically to elicit particular kind of response or information from the person we are communicating with, and to that end verbs, which comprise one of the most important category of words in English, they become very important. So learners, let us begin this module 12 by identifying the objectives of this module. First objective of module 12 is to know what are models or model auxiliaries. Second, to learn about their functions. They have a number of functions, they have a range of functions, to learn about their functions. Third is to learn the different contexts in which models or model auxiliaries are used. And fourth, of course, after learning or after knowing all this, how to see to it, okay, so that by employing this we make our communication, written as well as oral, more effective, more expressive. Let us begin with the question, what is a model or what is a model auxiliary? Either in your school or in college, or school as well as college, I am very sure, I am very confident you had come across the word model. See, it's M-O-D-A-L, model or model auxiliary. And what it is basically a verb in English. Okay? So just to sort of brush up your memory, just to make a connection with your previous or earlier sort of a learning, I will just tell you briefly what is a model. So model, as I have already said, model or model auxiliary is basically a verb. You see, verb we have already outlined is one of the most important categories of words in English. And verbs, while they have many divisions, they are broadly divided into two categories, that is the primary, principal or the main verb in a sentence, and the second is the helping or auxiliary verbs. We will concentrate on the second category, that is helping or auxiliary verbs, and they are broadly divided into two: primary auxiliaries and model auxiliaries or models. Okay. Now, before going into this primary auxiliary and model auxiliary, let me just again sort of explain. Basically, I am trying to refresh what you have already learned in your school or in your college. Okay, let's think of our friend, say Rahul. Okay, let's take two sentences. Rahul kicked the ball. Rahul has kicked the ball. Okay, sentence 1, Rahul kicked the ball. Sentence 2, Rahul has kicked the ball. Now, the principal or the primary or the main verb in both the sentences, I am sure you know, is right, kicked. Okay, but in the second sentence you tell me, what is has doing? Okay, what it is doing? Yes, it is helping the main verb, which is kicked. Okay, so how it is helping? It is basically helping the main verb in carrying the tense, because the tense of the second sentence, Rahul has kicked the ball, is present perfect. Okay, and this is not designated by the form of the verb kicked, okay, which is past form of the verb. So it is the auxiliary has which tells us that the sentence is in the present. So the helping verb, as the name itself suggests, the helping verb or the auxiliary verb, they help the main verb in carrying tense, not only tense, okay, they also help the main verb in carrying aspect also. For instance, Rahul has been playing football since morning. So here has is, it carries tense, been, it carries, okay, the aspect of the sentence, right? So coming to now model versus primary auxiliary. Let's again go back to our friend, Rahul. Okay, let's take two sentences. Rahul is a footballer. Rahul has 3 footballs. Okay. Take another sentence. Rahul can play. Take another. Rahul shall play. Okay. We can take another. Rahul must practice. Okay. Footballers, all the sports persons and everyone, in fact, we have to practice to do things well. Okay. We have to kind of practice. So sentences, one group of sentence. Rahul is a footballer. Rahul has 3 footballs. Okay. On this side. And on this side we have Rahul can play. Rahul shall play. And Rahul must practice. Okay. Now, see what is the difference. Okay. In the first group of sentences, in the first sentence the verb is, which is a form of the primary auxiliary be. There are 3 primary auxiliaries, be, do and have. So is a form of the primary auxiliary be. In the second sentence, Rahul has 3 footballs. Okay. The verb is has. Now, is there any other verb in the 2 sentences? No, exactly. There are no other verbs in the 2 sentences. In the first sentence, the verb is. In the second sentence, the verb is as. Both are auxiliaries. They are helping verbs. But here they are functioning as main verbs. So, remember the auxiliary verbs. There are 3 only: be, do, have. They have different forms. These 3 auxiliary verbs, they can function as main, principal, or even sometimes called as lexical verbs in sentences. Whereas if you look at the second group of sentences, Rahul can play, Rahul shall play, Rahul must practice. In all this we say in the first, can is the model auxiliary, play is the main verb, shall the model auxiliary, play is the main verb, must model auxiliary, practice is the main verb. So while primary auxiliaries can be used in many situations as the main verb in a sentence structure, models aren't. And this basically, you see, is the difference between a model auxiliary and a primary auxiliary. Okay, right? Now let us go to the complete list of model auxiliaries. Well, primary auxiliaries, there are 3. They have different forms, however. Model auxiliaries, I am giving you the entire list of model auxiliaries: can, could, shall, should, will, would, must, ought, need, dare, used to. The last 3, need, dare, used to, they are also sometimes referred to as semi-models. Okay, and the other 8, you can see they come in pairs. Okay, can, could, because could is sometimes the past form of can, should is sometimes the past form of shall, would is sometimes the past form of will. Okay, must and ought also, they are related. Okay, and we have already said that models, they are a class apart in the entire language, in the entire English language. Okay, models are very distinctive because of some features, like say they are never used as principal or main verbs. They do not carry tense and aspect like primary auxiliaries. They do not have infinitive forms. There are no participle forms of the models. They do not display or show contrast of number and person. Okay. They perform a number of different functions, which will be one of the focus areas of our presentation today. And they are used to express a number of meanings. Okay. They, here in the sense I am saying that one particular model auxiliary can be used to express more than one meaning. The last 2 would basically be the focus areas of today's presentation. Okay, friends, let us see. Okay, let us take some sample sentences. Okay, or some sentences as sampling of or sample uses of model auxiliaries and what do they mean in those sentences. Okay. Sohan can climb mountains. Which is the model auxiliary? Right, can. Okay. What does it denote? Ability. You must do it. Must denotes compulsion. We ought to do our duty. What does it denote? Obligation. We may go to Kolkata Yes, possibility. You may come in. Permission. You should go for morning walk. Advice or suggestion. Okay. So from the examples 4 and 5, you can see may is used both for possibility as well as for permission. And this is what in the, I was earlier telling that one model can mean more than one thing, or it can have multiple meanings, and that's one of the best things about models, right? So let's go into individual model auxiliaries. Okay? And let us begin with can. It expresses ability or permission. Let's take the example of a sentence. The girls can sing classical songs. You can use my book, right? So in the first sentence, when we say the girls can sing classical songs, okay, or the boys can play very beautifully, we are basically referring to, or we are basically talking about the ability of the girls or the boys, to perform a particular task or a function, right? That's ability. But if we look at the other sentence, you can use my book, okay? It basically, is it ability? It's not really, it doesn't really refer to ability. What does it? Yes, it is permission. You can use my book, that is permission. It can be even an answer to a question like, can I use your book, please? Okay. Second, can is used to form questions and which would elicit a kind of response which should be again in the realm of ability or permission. We can connect with the earlier one like, can I use your pen? Okay, seeking permission. Okay, can you play tennis? This is ability. Can is used like other models. Can is used to form question tags. They can swim, can't they? I hope all of you are familiar with tags. So from can, let us go to the next one. Could. Could can be the past form of can in sentences like, I couldn't hear what he was saying. We were sitting at the back of the hall and we couldn't hear what the speaker was saying. So here it is the past form of, used as a past form of, can. But could has other uses, and could becomes very important in English because of these other uses. Okay, one is it can be used to mean a sort of a general ability. Take a sentence like, our former principal could speak many languages, or our former principal was capable of speaking many languages. This is another way of saying this sentence. But compare the two sentences. Our principal could speak many languages. Our former principal was capable of speaking many languages. If you look at the two sentences, which one will you choose? Which one will you prefer? Which one will you say is an example of better English, appropriate English? Exactly, sentence 1. Could can also be used to mean permission, okay, or a freedom to do something, right? Those were those days. We could play anywhere we wanted. We could go anywhere we wanted. What does it designate? Freedom. There are other uses of could also. Of course, as I've said in the formation of tags, our former principal could speak many languages. Couldn't she? Right? Making a suggestion for a possible action in the future. Okay? So just you are conversing with somebody, what shall we do this July? Oh, we could go to Kerala. Okay? This is just a sort of a suggestion. Could as well as can also, but could is more preferred for a polite sort of a request. Could you please pass the glass? Could you please open the window? Okay. Could you please help me out? Okay. Please note, please mark that in this kind of situations, can also be used, okay, as a request. But if you want to make the request more polite, more formal, go for could rather than can. Okay. Now from can and could, let's go to another model which we use very often, okay, and which all of you are familiar with. Shall. Okay. Shall I won't tell you about shall that it is used to express simple futurity. I would rather, because this course you see is basically aimed at enhancing your communication skills to make your communication more effective. So let me point out what are the other uses of shall that you may not be aware of. Okay, shall is used also to express a command, a promise, or a threat, especially when it is used with second and third persons. Okay, mark the sentences. You shall not do it again. He shall not do it again. This carries the force of what? Command. You shall have a holiday. This is a promise. Okay, these are the areas which I think you need to kind of focus, and this is one of the distinctive aspects of what I was already talking about. Distinctive aspects of models that they have in different contexts, in multiple contexts, they can mean a number of things. So shall, of course, it expresses futurity, but in especially when used with second and third persons in sentences like you shall not do it again, it carries the force of a command. You shall have a holiday, it carries the force of a promise. Okay, should I say that shall is also used in interrogative sentences, basically seeking the opinion. Okay, interrogative sentences, it seeks the opinion of the person to whom the question is addressed. Okay, shall we go? Right? Shall we call it a day? And of course, like the others, it is used in forming tags. Okay, he shall jump, shan't he? Okay, right. From shall, let us move on to the other model which you are very familiar with and which we very often come across, will. Okay, again, will is used to express simple futurity. And it has been seen that the tendency in the last many years is more and more to use will. Now, sometimes will also expresses, especially when it is used with the first person, it expresses the speaker's willingness, promise, or determination. Okay, I will carry your suitcase. So, don't worry, I will carry your suitcase. It what expresses willingness. Here the model will expresses willingness. We will buy you beautiful gifts. We will buy you lovely presents. This is what? A promise. Okay. Remember one thing, that in interrogative sentences, will is not used with the first person. So that is one thing that I think all should be careful, because if you use will with the first person in your conversations, okay, then of course the person to whom or the person with whom you are talking to will mark that, and ultimately the level of effectiveness of your communication will come down. Okay, in some interrogative constructions, will carry the force of almost an invitation or a request. Okay, will you have tea? Okay, will you not go with me? So in this, it almost carries that force of kind of invitation or a request. And as usual, will, like the others, is used to form question tags. Will or won't. Okay, the negative form. She won't sing. Will she? She will sing. Won't she? Okay. From there, let us move on to very important model auxiliaries in English: should and would. Now, should and would, I think all of you are quite familiar with this, that in some cases they are used as the past equivalents of should, past of shall, and would as the past of will. Okay. Now take this sentences, transformation of sentences from direct to indirect. Okay. He said, I will give you my book. Indirect, he said he would give his book. Direct, the boss said all employees shall come on time. Indirect, the boss said that all employees should come on time. Okay, so in these cases, should and would are past equivalents of shall and will. Okay, would, remember, is generally used to denote a past habit. Okay. Raju would sit for hours listening to the radio. Okay. Kriti would sit for hours watching television. Okay. Should is used with all persons to denote or express obligation or duty. We should work with sincerity. Leaders should be honest. Okay? All of us should be punctual. Okay, in all these sentences, should is used with to denote or express obligation or duty. Okay, let me bring to your notice a very nuanced form of a distinction. Okay, when should expresses duty or obligation, and when in the same context another model must is used. Okay? You should do your duty. You must do your duty. You should do your duty is obligation. You must do your duty, it is a compulsion. Okay, you cannot avoid. Okay, it is a compulsion. Okay, the next in line is May, which is also the name of a month, the 5th month in our calendar. May, May. Okay, May, I think all of you are familiar. May is generally used to seek permission. Okay, may I come in? Okay, so in the form of a question. Okay, may I come in? So granting permission. Expressing possibility. Okay, the flight may be delayed, the train may be late. Okay, this all express what? Possibility. See, making request. Okay, see, there are other models also which are used to make requests. May is also used to make a request. May I know the time, please? May used to make a request. Okay. Next is might. Okay, used sometimes as the past equivalent of may. Okay, right? You may go, you might go. Okay. Might is also used to make a request. Okay, you might leave now. It's a sort of polite way of request in a different form. Okay, you might leave now. Might also expresses possibility. Already we have seen examples of other models expressing possibility. Might, you see, I give you a sentence. They might not come now. Our friends might turn up for dinner. Right? The tourists might come to our hotel. So in all this you find that might, it expresses what? Possibility. Okay. Next is must. Okay, so you know that must in most situations it carries that force of or that meaning of compulsion. Okay, but sometimes it can be used as a sort of an advice or a suggestion, a strong advice or a suggestion, almost a sort of expressing some sort of a necessity. Okay, so somebody is putting on weight, your friend or maybe one of your family members, you are quite concerned, and you say you must take exercises. It expresses a sort of a necessity. Okay, and sometimes it expresses certainty also. After a game of football or after a game of cricket, you may tell your friend, you must be tired. Students, when they come back from school and colleges, their parents often tell them, you must be tired. So that is what it expresses, a sort of a certainty. So must, for in most cases we know must means some sort of a compulsion. Okay, must, and the past form, you must do it. Okay, you had to do it. We must do it. We had to do it. Okay. Okay. The next auxiliary is ought or ought to. Okay, it is always used with that. Okay, to. Now ought is an auxiliary which you do not frequently come across. Okay, but I would personally suggest, to improve your language, to improve your communication, use this. Okay, but before that you have to know its uses. So here it is. It is used to express a moral obligation or duty or even desirability. Okay? And its force is midway, between those of should and must. We ought to take care of animals. We should take care of animals. We must take care of animals. Midway, we ought to take care of animals. Okay? They ought to help her. They should help her. They must help her. They ought to help her. And ought may also express a very strong possibility. Okay? That the music album ought to be popular. So, as I have said, it is a model which you do not come across frequently, and I don't know, it's nice if most of you are using it, okay, but if you are not using it regularly, make it a part of your vocabulary, okay, so that you can improve, okay, your language, and thereby you make your communication more effective. The next model in the list, that is need. Okay. Now need, many may not be sort of aware, or you may have sort of done your learning many years before. You might have read at that time, but I need to polish, I need to brush up that need is also a model auxiliary in English. She needs a house, okay, right? They need work. In such cases, need conjugates with all tenses, okay, and is followed by a noun or the infinitive to, okay. As an auxiliary, need can be used in the ways as demonstrated, okay, in the sentences that I am now going to share with you, okay. He need not do it. Okay. Need I give you more money? Okay. So see the distinction. The first two sentences, okay, when need is used as an ordinary verb, and as an ordinary verb, it is used generally to mean want. Okay, we all need food. Okay, she needs a house. They need work. So that is ordinary verb. We are not really talking about that. We will concentrate on the second part as an auxiliary. What is the use? He need not do it in this kind of sentences. Need I give you more money? Okay, in this kind of sentences, you see need is used as an auxiliary verb. Okay, and the last one in the list is your dare. Okay, now dare again, dare can be used as an ordinary verb, and it can be used as an auxiliary. You see, he dared me to shoot. I dare you to sing. In these cases, dare is used as the main verb. Okay, right, and it means what? Challenge. But as an auxiliary, look at these sentences that I am now going to share with you. He dare not do it. They dare not challenge the boxer. As an auxiliary, dare doesn't change its form. Okay? They dare not challenge the boxer. Okay, so here the verb is what? Challenge. Right. So friends, we have come almost to the end of today's module. In this module, okay, what we learned? We learned that models, they are formed, they are verbs in English. They are a subclass of auxiliary verbs in English. Okay, and we learned what are those features that make models very distinct, from most other class of words in English. And we also looked at the use of individual models in context bound situations, and all this that basically aimed at improving your English. Okay, so as we conclude this model, we must have learned that models play an important role in both oral as well as written communication. Okay? And in the next module, we shall discuss formal and informal speech, so that you can differentiate between both, and you can learn the art of speaking in different social contexts, in different social situations. Okay, so till then, see you again. Good luck. Thanks.